On DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 125 across all our social media handles. We're Joy News on TV. Coming up within the next 60 minutes here on Newsdesk, what has changed at the embassies after the Foreign Affairs Ministry asked for better treatment for Ghanaians. We're live on the grounds for details. Also coming up this morning on Newsdesk, President John Dramani Mahama's resetting of the economy to start with a national economic dialogue will engage the team tasked to do this job here on Newsdesk. And also coming up, Deputy Minister Designate for Education reinforces call for bipartisan probe into persistent examination malpractices resulting in the withholding of some results of students who sat for the just ended WAEC.
Seeking a bipartisan committee to probe matters to do with WAEC and examination malpractices. I think it is a challenge.
Those as the nominee justifies government's position to fully reinstate the authority of PTA to deal with indiscipline in schools.
Some students misconduct themselves or exhibit deviant behavior. Would a collaboration between parents and school authorities, they are able to address some of those challenges.
Class business updates here on Newsdesk. My name is Faustina Safo. It's a good time to take a seat and please be my guest.
Seeking a bipartisan committee
Thanks for choosing us. We are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Now, there have been mixed reactions to a statement by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs urging all embassies and high commissions in Ghana to put in place appropriate and humane conditions at their embassies. On your screens now are extracts of that statement from the ministry, just directing all the ministries in the country to ensure that they treat Ghanaians applying for visas fairly. It goes on to state that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has engaged embassies and high commissions on the numerous complaints by the public on how Ghanaian citizens are treated when they visit foreign missions in Ghana for visa applications. The complaints over the issues such as now providing conducive waiting areas, non-availability of emergency services, long waiting times for appropriate appointment dates, as well as challenges in using visa application websites. Well, to address these concerns, the ministry has dispatched a note verbal to all embassies and high commissions urging them to put in place humane conditions at the embassies. And that's the statement from the Foreign Affairs Ministry that started this whole conversation. And so this morning here on Newsdesk, we would be looking at how indeed some of our candidates and citizens are treated across some embassies in the country. Our men are on the ground. But also coming up, former Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister Charles Oredu has raised doubts about whether Ghana's latest communique to all embassies and high commissions regarding visa applications will be acknowledged.
So our strategy was engagement. Because if you look at what the minister just said, the minister issued a note verbal. And issuing a note verbal doesn't solve this challenge or this problem. Because like we all know, the Vienna Convention protects embassies and then consular activities. They are inviolable. You can't just go there and then do whatever pleases you. So best approach to me should have been engagement. Engage the main players in this matter. Issuing a note verbal to all these embassies, to me, it doesn't solve the problem.
Do you feel that the foreign embassies would treat this note verbal with all the seriousness, knowing very well that these are, countries that are sovereign?
I doubt it. They'll just put it somewhere. Like I said earlier, the best approach, the best strategy to me was to have, gotten the minister to engage them. So a matter of engagement to me would have solved these.
Well, we'll be touching base with our correspondents across the country and also here in the Greater Accra region shortly. But away from that, President John Dramani Mahama's research of the economy will start with a national economic dialogue. And checks reveals that this will be a platform for Ghanaians to respond to pressing economic challenges and forge actionable solutions to foster sustainable economic growth. Now, President John Dramani Mahama would lead the dialogue with a keynote address themed Reset in Ghana, Building the Economy We Want Together. Now, let me engage a member of this team. Professor John Gachi is a member of the National Economic Dialogue team. Thank you so much for your time here on Newsdesk. I just want to get a sense of what we are to look forward to, because I know that this dialogue ought to start on the 3rd of March. Well, unfortunately, we cannot reach Prof. Gachi at this time. We'll reconnect our lines and try to have that conversation with him. What we should look forward to, since the president took office, there has been numerous dialogues. In the education sector, they have done one, and this has to do with economic reforms. And so he plans to also hold another dialogue for individuals in the economic sector. Now, let's move away from that. As Africa faces severe climate impacts, financial solutions remains a major challenge. In Ghana, some CSOs have been trained to access climate funds, enabling them to implement projects that enhance resilience and protect communities. Now, this was made possible by Hatoff Foundation, a climate-focused foundation, and there's more in this report by Mahmoud Nuruddin for Climate Focus today.
Africa is one of the most climate vulnerable regions globally, experiencing a faster rise in surface temperatures than the global average, alongside more unpredictable weather patterns. According to the World Meteorological Organization's 2022 report, these events have caused significant loss of life and billions of dollars in economic damages. The IPCC in 2022 said a large portion of the population in sub-Saharan Africa works in climate-sensitive sectors like agriculture, making them even more susceptible to the impacts of climate change. Professor Nana Ama-Kloche is a lead author contributing to the IPCC SEEF assessment report.
We already have the impact of climate change that is huge on Africa and many vulnerable communities, especially in Africa. And so we should do our best to help mitigate the issue of global warming.
This is where the training for civil society organizations in Ghana becomes crucial. Participants are learning not just theory of climate finance, but practical approaches to developing, monitoring and implementing climate change projects. Ransford Nisaki is from CASA.
With this program, I've learned how to be able to connect our project with both national and international policies and treaties.
Another participant, Paulina, who is also from RAIN, shares her experience.
I know different funding organizations have their own criteria. So if you are able to know, especially with the GCF, we are able to know their criteria, how we can go about it, then we'll be able to target any proposal that we write towards them so that we'll be able to get funding to support our projects.
Samuel Duche is the Chief Executive Officer of Hatoff Foundation.
Globally, when the fund was established in 2010 and started operation, Hatoff Foundation is the only NGO in Africa and the second NGO in the world that was able to access the money directly from the fund through a direct entry access from from Senegal, with the kind courtesy of the Ministry of Finance, the Climate Financing Division. So we want to translate that capacity. We want to diffuse that knowledge to other CSOs so that collectively we can also even support the government of Ghana, because it is not just easy for even national institutions to access the money.
The project, funded by over $442,900 grant from the Green Climate Fund, supports the implementation of Ghana's nationally determined contributions (NDCs) under the Paris Agreement. A report by Mohamed Nuruddin.
Climate Focus is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging gaps for positive youth development, and the Climate Development Knowledge Network.
Well, you can watch Climate Focus every Wednesday here on the Joe News channel. Well, let me take you back to our earlier story. We tried earlier to reach Professor John Gachi. We're just looking at government's National Economic Dialogue, and that's slated to commence on the 3rd of March, which is just days away. And we're engaging a member of the team, Professor John Gachi, the organizational team, to get a sense of what we're looking forward to. We know that President John Dramani Mahama, since he took office, has been engaging stakeholders on how best to reset the economy, which is one of the key things he has pledged to do since he took office. We know that for the educational sector, they had the National Dialogue as well, a forum for that. And now they're shifting attention to the economy. How do they plan to do this? Thankfully, I have better connection to Professor John Gachi. He's a member of the National Economic Dialogue team. Thank you so much for your time here on Newsdeck. Let's start with preparations so far and what we should expect. Prof, you have to unmute for me to hear you clearly.
I said the preparation is ongoing. We have advanced so far. We have settled on the theme for the dialogue, resetting Ghana, building the economy we want together. We have 6 thematic areas to focus on: restoring macroeconomic stability, infrastructure development, structural and policy reforms, restoring good governance, and eliminating corruption. We are also focusing on growth with depth. That is to say, growth that will enhance diversification, export expansion, the focus on productivity, and then a focus on the infusion of technology, and a focus on human development. And then we focus also on the private sector-led growth. So these are the 6 thematic areas that we'll be focusing on.
I'm quite interested in one of the thematic areas you have mentioned. Prof, if you allow me come in at this point in time, can you hear me? Oh dear. Prof, I can't seem to hear you clearly at this point. I seem to be losing connection to you. If you just tuned in, we're speaking to Professor John Gachi. He's a member of the National Economic Dialogue Forum, and he is joining us to give us a sense of what we should expect. We know that the forum is slated to commence on the 3rd of March. He has just given us the 6 thematic areas that they plan to focus on. I'm quite interested in how they plan to eliminate corruption and export expansion, which is one of the thematic areas that he has just mentioned. I'm hoping that I have better connection to him now so that he can just finalize on that point. Prof, you are quite ambitious with this goal, eliminating corruption. Is that even possible? Well, whilst we work the lines to get better connection to Professor John Gachi, we're looking at what we should expect from the National Economic Dialogue team. And I'm told I have Prof now this time join me on phone. Unfortunately, the connection hasn't been the best via Zoom, so I can hear you loud and clear, Prof. Please make the point. You were just highlighting the 6 thematic areas that this dialogue would focus on, and I'm quite interested in one of the areas you made mention of, which is eliminating corruption. Isn't that too ambitious a goal? Is it possible in our current setting to eliminate corruption? Oh dear, I still don't have clear connection, Professor John Gachi. Well, we'll work the lines and try to reconnect with him. If you just tuned in, we're speaking to Professor John Gachi, a member of the National Economic Dialogue team. You're watching NewsX. We'll be back after this quick return. Thanks for staying with us here on NewsX. Now, women participation in science, technology, engineering and maths hovers around 30% in Ghana, despite developments in local initiatives to promote STEM education. Financial hindrances, cultural factors and limited access to key barriers are key barriers to its full development. Now, 6 underprivileged young women at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology have been assisted by Francis Amankwa Foundation to pursue STEM education. There's more in this report.
Fields in science is leapfrogging in Ghana. 6 talented young women at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology were presented the awards as the second cohort of the Francis Faki Amankwa Foundation Scholarship Scheme to pursue computer science and computer engineering. The beneficiaries were selected based on their performance over the past year and will receive support until they complete their programs at the university. The scholarship award comprised of tuition, accommodation, stipend and a laptop. Chief Executive Officer of Francis Faki Amankwa Foundation, Mercy Bruce Amankwa, says the support would allow the young women to become positive advocates for the nation.
Also, research has shown that one of the reasons why only 28% of women occupy the STEM workforce globally and 30% in Ghana is because they do not have enough role models in these fields to look up to. As a result, our scholars, apart from the financial assistance provided to them together with a laptop, are assigned to mentors who are women in STEM, who will engage with them and encourage them during their journey on our program. In supporting our scholars, our hope is that they will pay it forward to transform lives in their communities and the world. Our belief is that they will in turn return as alumni of the foundation to assist us to support more young women.
The Pro-Vice-Chancellor of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Professor David Asamoah, says the university is impressed with the focus on gender development of the foundation.
One of the missions of the Vice-Chancellor is strategic partnership, and especially coming from alumni. So we are so grateful. The other interesting part of it is the gender aspect, the fact that we are focusing on women. We are invested, I believe, in the fact that we should give more room to our ladies to also come up. So we are so grateful, and I want to thank you for the support.
Beneficiaries say the support would allow them to study with a sound mind and help achieve their academic and professional goals.
This award is not just a recognition of our academic achievements, but also a testament to the Foundation's commitment to empowering women in the fields of computer engineering and computer science. The FAB Scholarship is more than just a financial award. It is a beacon of hope, inspiring us to pursue our dreams, to break barriers, and to shatter glass ceilings. It is a reminder that, as women in STEM, we have a responsibility to pave way for the future generations.
For Joy News, my name is Clinton Yeboah.
Let's head now to Parliament, where the Deputy Minister Designate for Education, Dr. Clement Park, has reinforced calls for a bipartisan probe into persistent examination malpractices recorded during the West African Senior School Certificate Examination and the Basic Education Certificate Examination. He raised these concerns during his vetting in Parliament, including solutions to the key challenges facing the educational sector. There's more in the following report.
Tuesday's vetting started on a rather hard note, with ranking member Alexander Penyumaking probing the nominee Dr. Clement Apak on his comment on Galamsey during the campaign period, calling on him to amend his position.
Do you stand by this, or you believe that with the benefit of hindsight, you could have used a more measured language? Honorable Chair, with hindsight, I must admit that the language was rather harsh. I'm grateful. Thank you very much. This comes without doubt, you being of the academia stock, and you've earned my respect.
On the persistent challenge of growing trend of misconduct by students, invigilators and sometimes parents during WAEC examinations, Dr. Apak has proposed a bipartisan approach to dealing with the matter.
Seeking a bipartisan committee to probe matters to do with WAEC and examination malpractices. I think it is a challenge. One of the reasons that we believe contributes to examination malpractices is WAEC's inability to recruit and deploy its own staff to invigilate and supervise examinations.
He also emphasized government position to reinstate the full authority of the Parent Teachers Association, PTAs, to address infrastructure deficit and enforce discipline in the schools.
Some students misconduct themselves or exhibit deviant behavior. Would a collaboration between parents and school authorities, they are able to address some of those challenges?
Also appearing before the vetting committee was the Deputy Minister for Energy and Green Transition, Richard Jan Mensah, who has been providing some clarification on the controversial move to privatize the Electricity Company of Ghana, as he assures of broader consultation with the TUC to achieve this purpose.
ECG currently needs capital injection. There are a lot of inefficiencies in the system, and I believe that bringing on board the private sector will play a very key role in resolving some of these challenges, and also to make them financially buoyant, to ensure that we have consistent and stable power supplies.
Deputy Ministers for Roads and Highway, Attorney General and Minister for Justice and the Lands and Natural Resources will be appearing before the committee on Wednesday. James Savaji for Joy News.
Now, in a few minutes, Parliament's Appointment Committee will sit to vet 3 Deputy Ministers designate. Al-Hassan Suhini is Deputy Minister designate for Roads and Highways, and a primary duty of providing support for critical infrastructure is actually what he's supposed to do. And we're also expecting Yusuf Sulemana. He is Deputy Minister designate for Lands and Natural Resources. And just on your screens now are their profiles. We'll be running you through them as well shortly. And also the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General will also be vetting its deputy today. Now, let me start with Al-Hassan Suhini. He is Deputy Minister designate for the Ministry of Roads and Highways. He has a BSc in Public Administration from GIMPA. He has an MSc in Development Management from GIMPA, a PhD, which is ongoing, in Public Administration, and that's his educational background. He was once a journalist. He worked with Diamond FM Tamale, City FM Accra, Metro TV Accra, Gold, Radio Gold in Accra as well. Let's look at his political career. He's been a board member of GCAA in the year 2013. That's when he occupied that position. He's been communications manager for the National Hajj Council, and he's also member of parliament for Tamale North since the year 2016. We're also expecting Justice Ramsai. He is to be vetted for the position of Deputy Minister Designate for the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General. He has a bachelor's degree in law from the University of Ghana. He has an LLM from Cardiff University and Harvard University. He has a PhD from the University of Leeds. Quite a vast background, and that's his educational background. When it comes to career, he's been a lawyer since 2011. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana. He was a lecturer at GIMPA as well, and today he will be vetted by the committee for the position of Deputy Minister for the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General. Now, noted for successfully overturning Ghana's COVID-19 Restriction Act. Those are some of his key achievements as a lawyer. He's also marking the first time the Supreme Court struck down an entire act as unconstitutional, and when he filed for that case. Also coming through the committee today is Yusuf Sulemana. He's Deputy Minister Designate for the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. We're looking forward to that and some of the key things he will be saying before the committee. Let's look at his educational background. He has a BSc and EMBA from the University of Ghana. He has a certificate in monitoring and evaluation from GIMPA. He has a Chartered Development Finance certificate, and that makes him a Chartered Development Finance Analyst. And so these individuals will be coming through the committee today, I beg your pardon, just to be vetted by the Appointments Committee. He's a politician. You know him as the Member of Parliament for Boli Bamboy from the year 2016 till date. And that's the man we would be listening to today. But let's take you to Parliament for a preview of what we should expect. James Aveji, as usual, is on the ground for us. James joins us with more. James, what should we expect?
Well, firstly, we should expect a good running day today. Just to let you know, the chairman of the committee, Honorable Bernard Ahiafo, has resumed duty today, taking over proceedings from the deputy chairman, Honorable Rickett Hagan, who's been doing that for the last 2 days. Today, Bernard Ahiafo himself is back and he is in the seat. Proceedings haven't started yet. We're waiting for that. And top on the list, the first nominee who will be taking the seat this morning would be Alhassan Suhini. And we expect him to kickstart the day well. When Justice Ramsai takes the seat as the Deputy Attorney General and Minister of Justice, we expect issues of the cases that have been terminated in court, a number of them to come up, because the NPP have been raising concerns over that. We know that there's been concerns about that even on the floor of the House. And so we expect that their side on the committee will be pushing for some more answers on those cases. And so those are the big deals we're expecting today. Honorable Yusuf is also expected to take this. But thankfully, we've been joined by Honorable Shai Mahama. He is a member of the committee. He's here to share some words with us. Honorable, thanks for your time this morning. I mean, you've had 2 days of vetting of the deputy minister. So far, what has been your impression?
So far, so good. I think we've had 7 nominees come through the vetting process Monday and then Tuesday. We expect to continue today at 11 o'clock.
Why does your side of the House doesn't seem to be pressing the nominees that appear before?
Well, I'm not too sure what you define by pressing.
Asking the hard questions.
Well, hard is relative. I mean, what you expect is not what I ask. And So if we put it in context, it's a different ballgame altogether. Remember, they are members of parliament. They are qualified under constitutional provisions to be ministers of state. And so that criteria once met, I mean, what hard questions do you expect to ask them? Of course, we try to probe about their competencies and then how best or how well they fit into the jobs that have been assigned to them. And so far, so good. I mean, we've got that out of them. And even if we're taking one whole day to ask somebody questions, that will not bring out questions that other people expect you to ask. And so I think that so far, so good.
What happened? What magic worked? Because there's been a lot of differences between your side of the table and the other side, which led to what we saw. But after that, in the last few days of vetting, even from the last days of the substantive ministers to the last 2 days of the deputies, the two sides seems to be rolling quite well. What happened?
Well, I think that the starts of everything will always have some teething problems here and there. Trying to gel, trying to appreciate and understand each other. I think that after the first or two vettings, we got to know ourselves well. We got to interact much better. We got to appreciate that there's no point holding a candidate for 6-7 hours. I mean, what are you going to extract out of that candidate that you cannot do in an hour? And so I think eventually we all just agreed that, look, let's move on. We allot time to ourselves and then ask the relevant questions. And then once you do the relevant questions, we're good to go. And so it's been flowing since.
What's your expectation? Which of the three candidates or nominees are you expecting, looking forward to on the day? You have three coming. Honorable Alhassan Suini is coming, 2 MPs, and then a non-MP as well.
We actually have 4 today.
4?
Yes.
But on the schedule shared earlier, we had 3. Who is the new add-on?
No, we're doing 4 today.
You remember the new add-on?
So we will do Honorable Suini. We will do Honorable Yusuf Suleimana. We'll do Honorable Yusuf Jaja. Okay. And then we'll do Justice Isrem. Yeah, tourism. Deputy Tourism Minister designate.
I see.
And so they're all slated for today.
Who is your big shot?
Oh, I mean, all of them. I mean, these are brilliant chaps. I mean, they come to the table with so much. I mean, they've had over 8 years of parliamentary experience, and then the rest of that. All of them, we expect them to deliver. Their competences are not in doubt. I mean, it's just to show and tell the world that they are capable of fitting into the positions that have been assigned them.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And that's Honorable Saib Mahama. He is a member of the committee for CN. So the latest is that there's been a new add-on. That's the information he's giving us. Honorable Yusuf Jaja, Deputy Minister for Tourism, have been added to the original 3 we were scheduled to take to them. So we're looking forward. The indication we're getting is that by 11 a.m., the vetting process should start.
Thank you, James Aveji, with that update from Parliament. Just letting you know that instead of 3, 4 individuals will be vetted by the Appointments Committee. It was slated to start at 10 a.m. They are starting late. They are starting at 11 a.m. And the individuals on the committee has been increased to 4. So the Deputy Minister designate for the Ministry of Tourism will also be vetted by the committee and will be there live once it starts. You should stay with us. Now, the Tertiary Education Workers Union of Ghana has threatened a nationwide strike over the withdrawal of car maintenance allowance for junior staff members initiated by the SWAL MPP administration. Local chairman at KNUST, Charles Arthur, says contrary to earlier agreements, the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission has directed heads of tertiary institutions to withdraw the allowance. The union wants a pullback of the said directive. Nabwachi Yadum has more in the following report.
In August 2024, Tewu Ghana, GTEC, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Ministry of Finance and other stakeholders agreed on the payment of vehicle maintenance allowance to junior staff at the tertiary level. The allowance was introduced to support junior staff members who use their personal vehicles for official duties. However, GTEC recently announced that it will be withdrawing the allowance as part of the austerity measures to reduce the public sector wage bill. The directive also raises concerns about eligibility of junior staff members who receive the allowance. But the KNUST chairman of Tewu Ghana, Charles Arthur, says the withdrawal of the vehicle maintenance allowance for junior staff is a breach of contract.
Our concerns now is that the letter that the GTEC has written is in bad faith because it's contrary to the directives of the Labour Commission. The car maintenance allowance is our entitlement. It's not a wholesale thing. It is only when you have applied for it, you are using it, you have applied for it, and you go through the procedure before you will be eligible to pay. It is unfortunate that something that we have agreed on with Fair Wages and Labor GTEC last year, because it is our conditions of service provision, and some universities were applying it, others were not applying it. So it was last year that we insisted that it must be applicable to every university, and then there was agreement to that effect with Labor Fair Wages and then GTEC. Minister of Finance issued approval letter to that effect. Implementation was started. There was no problem until they raised the issue of eligibility.
Charles Arthur argues the withdrawal of the allowance is unfair and will disproportionately affect junior staff members who are already struggling with low salaries.
We have instances where people have commercial vehicles, they are using it in performing their duties, yet they are not entitled to it, they are ineligible. Again, we also have people who also use car, they are junior staff, seniors, or whoever it is, you are using car and it is not in your name. You have not transferred ownership into your own sole name. You cannot make claims on it. So it is not a wholesale matter here. I'm saying that we have about 500 to 600 junior staff. Only 43 are eligible for it. So it's not a wholesale. And if they do not understand, they should come and then we explain to them so that they will understand. It's our condition of service provisions, and we will never allow anybody to take it off. No.
The union has given the government an ultimatum to pull back its directive, failing which they will withdraw their services.
We will lay down our tools because we have written to all the stakeholders. Even though GTEC director did not give us a copy of the letter that he wrote for us to know his intention of stopping the allowance, for us in good faith, we have given them a copy. We have written and we have even given copies to the chief of staff. We have given copy to the Minister of Labour, Jobs and Employment, copies to Minister of Education, GTEC is a Vice Chancellor, Labour Commission and other things. And it means that we want to indicate that we are satisfying the requirement of Section 159 of the Labour Act, who talks about the intention to strike or lockout. That if we did not come this month, we will lay down our tools because we are satisfied the requirement to go on strike. We will go on strike.
For Joy News, Nana Bwache Dankwe Yadom, Kumasi.
Yes, so watching News Desk, we'll be back with business updates. Please stay tuned in.
My name is Darryl Kwao. The Supreme Court Tuesday adjourned indefinitely a case filed by a private legal practitioner, Jonathan Amable, seeking to stop government from issuing treasury bills. The Attorney General's department told the court it would need more time to file a response to the issue. James Ishen has more.
In November 2024, legal practitioner Jonathan Amable filed an application at the Supreme Court, seeking for an injunction on the issuing of treasury bills by government. In this particular application, he argues that government can only go ahead with the treasury bills if it secures prior approval from the Parliament. Now, on hearing the case today, presiding judge at the court, today, who happens to be Judge Lovelace Johnson, described the suit as a very sensitive one, hence the need for some time for the Attorney General's Department to file a proper response in this regard. Let's listen to legal practitioner Jonathan Amagle.
Well, I had an inclination that this would happen because today was the date for the injunction, the hearing of the injunction application, and as at this morning when we were arriving in court, the Attorney General had still not filed an affidavit or any processes in response to the injunction application. So I definitely suspected that what they will be requesting for would be an adjournment within which to file a response to the application. And you know, it is bothersome. If you realize that the state attorney on the matter said that this is a sensitive matter, and so because it's a sensitive matter, they would like to file a response before the court hears the matter. And indeed, it's quite a very sensitive matter, and it is within that light that we should not be seeing the Attorney General's Department being indolent in the matter. The substantive matter was filed all the way in February last year. It is only this morning. And you know, when it was filed in February, the Attorney General's Department had 14 days within which to respond. It was only this morning that the Attorney General's Department has filed a process seeking for extension of the time to enable them to now file their response to the substantive matter. Of course, this is Attorney General's Department led by a new administration, but since February last year till now, the old administration, there was no response, there was nothing that was filed. So what was done in court was that the state was basically asking for time to enable the principal state attorney confer with the Attorney General.
Legal practitioner Jonathan Amable has also been speaking on the way forward.
The country is in a we know that this is a sensitive matter. We know that the country is in a situation where it would have to borrow because our current obligations are far more than our revenue. So we know that we do need to borrow. But we are saying that the borrowing should be done within the constitutional framework. That constitutional framework requires that parliamentary approval be sought. Ideally, by the time the first budget is coming to Parliament, which is coming very soon, we hope that, taking a cue from all these processes, the proposals that we are making for the borrowing to be done constitutionally can be incorporated into the first budget so that this government starts its economic reset agenda on a very legal footing.
Now, the Advertising Association of Ghana has announced a return of its industry flagship event, the Gong Gong Awards, after a 2-year break. However, it has been rebranded under the name Gong Gong Festival of Creativity and Awards. The event, which has been a hallmark of Ghana's advertising industry for nearly 3 decades, will now include 17 award categories that would recognize not only creative agencies, but also companies that own award-winning and outstanding brands. Andrew Aka is president of the Advertising Association of Ghana.
It has become necessary that the Advertising Association of Ghana relaunches its flagship award program, the Gong Gong Awards, because we've seen enormous changes in the industry when it comes to digital, when it comes to AI, when it comes to how creativity globally is being awarded for their excellent job and the solution that our job actually provides to client.
The refreshed Gong Gong is significantly different from the old one that we had. The new Gong Gong Festival of Creativity, actually we want to call it, is going to be a week-long celebration with several activities that will culminate into the Gong Gong event on a Saturday, the awards night itself.
We've also noticed that there are new talent in our industry who are doing incredible stuff, but because they do not know the history and the heritage of this Gong Gong Awards, they shy away from entering this very important award. So we're using this platform to tell everyone in Ghana who's in the creative space, who's in the marketing space, who's in the thinking space, who's in the spiritual space, digital, AI, anything at all that is within the marketing communication industry. We're inviting all of you to participate in this award so that we can show Ghana that we have great talent in our industry and we produce amazing jobs that help clients to solve their problems.
The categories themselves have changed. Initially, what we had before this time, it was more industry driven. You have the aviation industry, you have automobile industry, then we look at categories like radio, press, and and Art of Home and all of that. But this time round is a bit different, aligned to the global award categories like what we have with Cannes Lions, we have with Pictures, we have with Lorries and WAC and the like, you know.
All right, and that's it. Back to you, Fosti.
The bulletin. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Faustina Safo. At 11 p.m., the vetting committee will commence work and we'll take you there live once it starts. Have a pleasant day. 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Of course, 11 a.m. Okay, so please stay.